Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. This is Harika. So in previous videos, we have seen all the input controls that are there for apps, right? So what are all the different input controls? So if you see the categories, there are input, display, containers and icons. So icons are basically for styling purpose, okay? So there is nothing functionally we can do about them, okay? So these are for styling purpose. For containers, I have clearly explained why we use container layout and page container. I have clearly explained when we have seen a video on how to switch between pages. I have clearly explained with an example that demonstrate how different it is using a normal container and the page container. And we have also seen the difference between normal container and the container layout, because the container layout will give you that edge to adjust the layout, right? So that is the container layout. So we have seen this part as well. Going to input. So in the input, we have seen all these input controls, like how we can provide the input for different input control, different ways of providing input, and how you can fetch the output from that particular input control once the data is provided by the user. So we have seen all of them in the previous videos and in the particular playlist of VB apps, right? So now in this video, what I'm going to show is in the display. There is another section called display. In the display also, we have seen few portions like image, label, header, tab we have seen, right? So these are a few things that we've seen. But the major and the new thing that has come, especially with VB apps, is edit grid, right? The major change. So I'm going to talk about everything that you need to know about edit grid in this particular video. How this edit grid will help us, what is the use of this edit grid, and all of these things that I'm going to talk in this particular video. So don't skip the video, watch the video till the end. You will learn a lot of things, and also I am going to tell you everything step by step and why we are doing such things, in order to get the output on certain edit grid. And also I'm going to talk about different variable types that you can use in the inside edit grid and how it will affect everything, okay? So with that, I'm going to start this video. If you have not watched the previous playlist, I would recommend you to watch, because some of the things that I'm going to talk in this video, you can correlate or you can understand only if you have the prior knowledge. So I would recommend you watch the previous videos. So if you don't know where they are and how to quickly access them, then I would suggest you can go to my channel. Just type in Harika Mudiam on the Google page. It will take you to my channel, my YouTube channel. So under playlist, I have organized all the VB apps playlist. So under VB apps, under UiPath VB apps, you have 15 videos. Okay, so there are 15 complete videos which will give you a clear understanding of what UiPath VB apps can do for you. Okay, so you can utilize these 15 videos completely to get the full knowledge on the VB apps. So yeah, having said that, after watching this video, it will be very much helpful for you guys to relate and understand this particular video easily. So yeah, let's get into the video and see how we can actually utilize edit grid and how we can work on this particular feature using UiPath VB apps. Okay, so coming back to the topic, so let's start with what is edit grid. First of all, to understand what this edit grid is and how this can help us with making and to enhancing the performance and the functionality usage better. So if you see over here, this basically, with the one that I have it on my screen is an edit grid, the information that I'm trying to showcase in this edit grid itself. So if you see, we have employee ID, all this information. So at any point of time, let's preview this before we understand it more clearly. So whatever that is coming up on the screen is not something that I've created, except the names of the columns. So that's there by default. Even the search and the add and modify, delete, all these options are there by default. And the pagination itself is also there. With the pagination itself is there by default, right? So if you see, these are the records that I just added, right? So this What about the information? So let's say if I wanted to filter out anything with respect to location, let's say Hyderabad. Okay, so if you see here, the information has been popping up as it is by filtering it out. This is not something that I have created. The edit grid itself has this option to do the filtering out, and there's a pagination, right? And there's an edit option, there's a delete option, there is an add record option. So all these are helping us to enhance the performance of the utilization of the apps, right? So this is what a user at the end would want. The and also these things needs to be reflected quite immediately or quite quickly, instead of running it in, as we are running this whole process in the VB apps itself on the cloud itself. You're not referring to any of the project that's there, that which will run in the background and get us a result. That's not the idea, right? So that's how it will make the job so quick and easy. So let's say you have seen the filtering option, right? So now let's go ahead and delete this particular record, because I see this record is incomplete and doesn't give me a whole picture of what this does. So I'm going to delete this particular record. Okay, so done. The three records are there. So now I see these two are not having the rating. So let's go ahead and do some modification, that I wanted to give the rating to these two people as well. So let's say for Monica Giller, I give C. Okay. And for, okay. And then I'm going to update it. And the rating should be coming up over here. Perfect, right? So this is dynamically coming up over there. And for this person, for Rachel, I give D. Okay, and then I will update. Perfect. And now I wanted to add one more record. So let's say I'm gonna add one more employee ID and name, location. Okay, serial number 4, years of experience 8, and the rating I just wanted to select it from the drop down. I'll give A. Okay, and then I'll click on update. Perfect. So we can say immediately the things are popping up on the screen. They're coming up. They're getting updated, right? So this is perfect. So this is what we would expect at the end of the day. That should be showing up as soon as we do some changes in the app. So this is what the functionality of edit grid, and this is how it can help us. But yeah, in order to get this happen, not completely we have created like this, as I mentioned, this filtering out, this plus button, this edit option, this delete option, but they're by default. But in order to get those things function together, to connect the dots between them, to add the information, right, to push the information, to display the information, all of these things we have to function in the background. We have to generate a code, we have to connect the dots to get them work as expected, right? So this is what I'm going to show you in this video. First thing, how we can actually display the data inside an edit grid. That's the first thing that we are going to discuss. And the second thing is, what are the different types of data that you can display, right? So if you see here, this is a drop down. This information is a drop down. You can also display so many types of data. So what are the different types of data that you can display? This is a text. This is a this is a mandatory field. If you don't display, this will be not getting saved. So this is a mandatory field. How you can actually do that, how you can actually display that, and how you can save this information later, right? How you can delete it, how you can modify it, all these things, everything about the edit grid I'm going to showcase in this particular video. So I hope you got the clarity of what edit grid is and how it actually functions. So now let's get into the video and see how you can actually create it. So for that, I'm going to take a new app, because this is, or as this already developed, I'm going to take a new one and showcase you how you can create it. Edit grid demo. So before we actually create a new app, we also have to do something in the background. That is, we should have a data service. Okay, I'm actually taking the information from the data service. So you can also take it from your process using data table. That is also possible. But I'm taking here the data service. So for that, I will just take my data service. Okay, so if you see here, I have my entity created already, which is students DB. This is what I have created. Okay, so what I am going to do is, it's fine even if it's there, that doesn't have become a problem for me. But yeah, what I will do is, let me take this existing entity. You can just see over here. If you wanted to create a new entity, that is quite simple. Just create a new entity, give the entity name, and then later you have to give the fields apart from whatever is there. There's a system defined fields. Okay, so here I have taken the entity which is there already: employee ID, employee name, location, years of experience, rating. This I have created like 2 years ago. Since then I'm using the same entity for my basic demos and the processes, because this is relatable and this is cool, right? So yeah, now what I have done, the difference is, if you see here, I have a number type text and text type information. I have choice set, all of that, right? So you can also add the information if you want, like the more information also you can add. Like I'll create a new field, like date of joining. Okay, so date of joining, I'll just change the type to date time. Okay, so hide time field, yes, I don't want time field, I just need a date information. Just click on save. Okay, so we can see date of joining. So now you go to data, and let's say the data is already there, right? So the information is already there for this. But if you wanted to display for any of these, then you can just do it. Maybe I'll just keep it February something, whatever makes much sense for you. You can just, sorry, not in the past. Okay, 2020 Feb 6th. 2021 July 6th. Okay, done. Perfect. So the data have been added and we have saved the information, all the date of joining, right? So now what I have to do, I have the records here. I have my 4 records here. Now I am going to add the data into my application. So how you can add it? First and the foremost thing is edit grid. So I'm going to take the edit grid here, and I'm adding the edit grid information over here. So once after you pull that into your studio, it would look something like this, the raw one and the default one. Still you can see there's an option to search, and in order to get this enabled, by default this will not be enabled. In order to make this enabled, you have to make this false as true. Okay, because by default this will be false. So you have to keep it true so that you can see this when you are previewing it. So if at all anyone is not finding this when they preview it, then definitely you have to enable this as true. So that's the first thing. Then you can also see here, we have this columns, and we have the option to increase the columns, and there's an option to add the rows. This is to add the information in the rows. That means if you see here, add rows, that means true, right? So you have the feasibility to add the rows. So if you don't want someone to edit your table, or once after the information that's shown up, if you don't want to edit it, then you can keep this editable as false, right? And also you can keep this delete rows as false. If you don't wanted to give permission to anyone to delete any of the rows, then you can keep this as false, right? So that's how these are the different properties that you have. And you can also see here the pagination, right? There's an option for the pagination, and it will show show 25 at a time, and then it goes to the next page. That increase, you can also increase that. Okay, so that is, these are the things that will be appearing by default. So now our task is to increase the scope of this, to increase the functionality by adding up the things over here. So the first thing that I will show you is how we can display, okay, how we can display the values that are there in our data service, right? So we have the entity in the data service, so how we can display them. So before we actually display them, so let's refer to our data service and create some fields that are there in the data service as the column names here. Okay, so let's go over here, and the first field is employee ID and employee name. Employee name. Then we have serial number. This is a mandatory field. So let's go ahead, and you can also give the serial number in the beginning as well. You can give. Okay. So you can adjust them like this. So let's pull this forward. Okay. Now you can adjust. You can just say the serial number here. Okay. After that, serial number, total years of experience, location. Total years of experience. And then you can add, let's go here and add location, right? So, and the next field that I'm going to add is rating. Okay, here I'm going to add rating. So here you have to keep one thing in mind, which is rating is a drop down, right? You are selecting it from the drop down. So I have changed the edit mode view as drop down, and now after some time I'm going to tell you how we can fetch the values from that and how we can show the values. That will also I'll show you shortly, but as of now I've kept it as a drop down. And later the next part is after rating, we had one more thing, which is date of joining. Okay, date of joining. Save. Okay, nice, but the date of joining should be of the type date picker. Okay, if at all someone wants to add the values from here, they can get to the values by using the date picker. So perfect. So now we have added all of them, and it's a dummy table we have right now. But in order to display the information into this, we have to link the entity to our UiPath apps, right? So I have already shown how you can link the entity, but again, as the demo needs this, we'll try to do it again. Entity from the tenant. So this is my entity. Students DB is my entity. You can cross check. These are all the fields that we have, right? So add. Okay, perfect. So we can see this is the different entity, and the data is also there in the entity. These are the 4 records are there. And now the main thing is we have to link the data grid, right? The edit grid, we have to link the information from that particular entity into our edit grid. So for that, what I'm going to do, first of all, as I've already mentioned you earlier also, we have to create a variable, right? Entity variable or whatever variable you can create. Okay, so first and the foremost thing is we have to create a variable, so that variable holds this information. So this variable is of type entity. Student DB is my entity. Just create the variable, and now when you go to edit grid, here in the events, okay, here in the events, when you modify, right, when you do any modification, you wanted to save that particular element into your particular excuse me, you wanted to save the element into your particular variable. But before to that, what we have to actually do is, here we are talking about the row modified, but before to which for displaying of the data, you have to first, like in the general itself, like to display this particular information, we have seen, right, in the data source, this is the place where you have to push the data to get displayed. So here itself, you go to query builder, and here from here you can select the entity that is linked, right? So here you can select that particular entity, and if at all you have any, conditions, you can just keep them over here and click on save, right? So this will help us to actually display the information into our edit grid. So that means we are actually sending the information from our entity to our linking the information, right? So here you can see that we have all this date of joining, employee ID, everything has come up, and we can see the information over here, right? So this is perfect. And now what I'm going to show is, let's go back, and now let me close this. Okay, so here you can see, sorry, so here we can see all the information displayed. But when I edit something or when I modify something, those changes will not be seen now. So let me show you that as well. So if you see here, if I edit, if I click on edit, right? So I'll just keep something. So if I click on save, this is not getting edited, or it's getting edited, but it's not getting updated, right? It's not getting saved. So why is that happening? Why we are not able to save it? Because we haven't created any rule. So if you go over here, there is a rule, right? When you modify, there is a rule. When you add, there is a rule. When you select, there's a rule. When you delete, there is a rule. So you have to do some coding over there. You have to add some logic in order to get those things activated, right? So how we can do this, that's the main part. So as I have mentioned earlier, for selected, I have to taken this variable, right? Entity variable. So this variable, for whatever you have made the changes, so this variable will hold the information. How it will hold the information is something that I'm going to show now. So in the edit grid, whenever you modify something, okay, we are going to create a rule, that is set value. So where we are going to set that value? In the entity variable itself. In the entity variable, I'm going to set the value. So what is the value that I'm going to set? So here, that particular, sorry. So here, that particular record, right? That particular row item which is selected to make the changes. So how you can do that? Main page dot edit grid dot selected item, and we are fetching the ID of that selected item, right? So this item, this particular item's ID, I am going to fetch, right? So how can I get the item's ID is something that I will show you now in next few minutes. Value of the type GUID cannot be converted. Just a second. Sorry, this should not be here. I have to, sorry, this should be in the rows selected, because we are trying to first fetch the selected value, right? Because the modified is something different. I have made the modified, I have got confused modified with selected, but this should be in the selected, because that's what we are picking the value from exactly, right? So the entity variable, we are assigning the entity variable to based on the selected value. Main page dot edit grid, and what is the selected item that we have taken, that is the information we have to fetch. So let's say if I have selected this particular row, it will fetch the information of that particular row. And let's say I'm modifying it, then I have to go for row modified. And what I have to do, as the whole information is there in the data service entity, right? So I'm gonna update my entity record. Okay, I'm going to update my entity record. So which entity I wanted to update? Students DB. And here you have to provide it with respect to ID. So what is the ID of it? Main page. Sorry, let's go to the expression editor. Now that particular selected item, from where we are getting the ID. Okay, so that particular ID, so what is the value? Date of joining, employee ID, whatever the value that we have edited. So how do you know which particular value is edited? Again the same thing, main page dot edit grid dot selected item dot date of joining. Okay, like this you have to update for all the other fields respectively. As this is employee ID, we have to do it for employee ID, employee name, right? So similarly, location, then the rating, right? Whatever the values that we are editing, all the values needs to be modified and updated. Okay, perfect. So this is only half part of it. So now I'm going to show you the other thing. So before to which, let's and see how this is actually affecting, because now I was not able to update it after saving, right? So but now I should be able to update the changes after doing the modifications. So let's do the modifications. So I assume that the date of joining is wrong, it's Jan 4th, I'll say, and then now I'm gonna save it, update it. So we can see that the rate got changed. So now let's go ahead and change the location from Chennai. Okay, so now let's go ahead and change the, sorry, location from Chennai to Bangalore. Okay, so for that I'm gonna click on update, so that we can see that the location got changed. So this is how you can update. But let's say if you wanted to do an addition of the information, like I wanted to add one more detail and add, so it will not happen, because the code, the logic for the addition is not yet done, right? So let's go ahead and do the logic for addition itself. So for addition, instead of updating the entity, we have to create the entity, because the entity record itself is not there for addition, right? So I'm gonna add, and here I'm gonna the code will be same, the syntax will be same, but a light difference, because here we are not referring with the selected item, because there's no item to select, but we have to create a new item, right? We have to create a new item. So perfect. So like this we will be adding the details, copying it so that I can paste it everywhere. Okay, employee name, location, rating, serial number, and the total years of experience. Perfect. So we have added. Similarly, let's do it for the deletion also. For deletion, we directly have the delete entity record. I'm going to use that particular rule, and I'm deleting the record from this entity. So how do you get the record ID? Here again I'll use the same old syntax, but here I have an option to take the selected item, because the item that you wanted to delete must be already there. Selected item dot id. Perfect. Save it and close it. So now let's go ahead and preview this at a full-fledged level. And also there's again some other things that I wanted to showcase here. Those or I'm going to tell you shortly. Okay, perfect. So here we can see, let's add a new item, employee IDs, okay, location I'll say Chennai, rating, let's go ahead here. So here now if you can see here, there is no possibility, right? There is no possibility of selecting it from the drop down. So whatever I'm giving like this, but again I'll show you. I'm gonna uh, give the values and save it. So here we can see could not convert a string, right, to integer. So this rating is the value that is causing me the error. So now let's say I'm not selecting it, and now I'm going ahead and I'll do a retry. It is getting saved. So this is the error that I'm getting, right? So this rating, ideally it has to be a drop down, but when I'm trying to add, right, when I'm trying to add the value, all the values I could able to select, but this value, ideally this should be a drop down. In the video that I have shown in the demo before we actually start this step by step tutorial, I have shown you this is a drop down from where I have selected, but here I'm not able to select it. So why is that? Because I'll also show you that shortly. Okay, so let's before to which I will do one more thing, which is deletion. Okay, so for deletion I'm choosing this last record because this is incomplete, there's no rating, so I'm clicking on delete, and deletion is also perfectly getting done. So now the only thing is addition with respect to the drop down is causing me an issue, right? So let's go back and see what is the issue. So for here, if you see the rating, right, the rating I'm directly taking from here, and here I have kept it as a text box. So for rating I should change this as a drop, sorry, for rating I should change it as a drop down, correct? I should change it as drop down. Now let's try and see if this is working. So if you see here, I'm going to add a new item. So I could see the drop down, but again, let's see if I'm getting the values inside this drop down or not. I'm going to click it. There are no results found. That means it is by changing the edit mode view as drop down. I could see that this is a drop down, but the values that we wanted to showcase there are not coming up. Why they're not coming up? I'm going to tell you now. So if you see here in the students database, this is a rating is a choice set, right? It's a choice set. So if you go inside the rating, if you see, a rating is a choice set, and the choice set name is bands, correct? You can create a choice set. So if you don't know how to create a choice set, I'll show you. So I'm going to create one more category, and I'll say it's a choice set. And as soon as you say the choice set, it will ask you to select from the choice set. So if you wanted to create a new one, you can go for create a new one. Or if you want to use the existing one also, you can use the existing one. Demo choice set. Okay. And then here you can give the values like, L1, or, uh, like one category number should be, or you can go for X, Y, and Z. So these three are the different choices that we have. You can add one more also, like A, L, something like that. Okay, so you can add those choices, and once after you save it, you can link the choice set to your particular field, okay, which is a choice set. Okay, so that is how you can. So in a similar way, the rating is a choice set that I have here, right? And the choice set name is bands. So you have to get this choice set as well to get that displayed into your edit grid. So how can you do that? I'll show you how. So go to ratings. Here in the drop down, here you have to pass the values, which is a list source. I'm going to show over here. There is a function called get choice set. Okay, there's a function called get choice set, and what's my choice set name? I have shown you here, right? My choice set name is bands. Okay, my choice set name is bands. I'm going to take this choice set, and then I can display the values, and also I have to give the column information. Okay, so once after I give the values, now let's go back and see if we can see the values inside the drop down or not. Okay, so let's come and try to add a value. Date of joining, employee ID ABC123, employee name Harika 123, location is Bangalore, uh, or let's keep Chennai because there's no entry for Chennai. So now let's go ahead and see the rating. Perfect, right? We can see the ratings coming down. So let's give A rating, and then let's go to the serial number as 5, and then the total years of experience 8. And now let's save this. It will be saved without any issue, right? So this is the record that I just added. Perfect. We could able to do it. Great. Nice. So this is how you can actually utilize choices from data and data service, and you can display the information over here. And I hope this edit grid is a full-fledged utilization of something that I've learned in the VB apps. This is something that I really felt so good concept learning into. And also I can see a lot of actions that we can do, like whether it can be filtering, whether it can be pagination, whether it can be editing, adding and deleting, right? Without much styling part that I have done, it's already there. And then it has helped me to take the flexibility, right, to keep it more neat and look wise very very useful. That's what I felt. What you felt is something that I wanted to know. Maybe you can comment it out, you can reach me out and let me know in the LinkedIn. If you have any questions, also reach me out in LinkedIn, and you can also put down in the comment section below. So the next video is yeah, let's come back and talk about what are some things that we have to see in the edit grid, right? The divider, document viewer, file downloader, iframe, list, table. I think that's it. Everything else we have seen. There are only 5-6 topics that we have to cover. So I'm gonna do more videos on them as well. And if you have any questions, or if you wanted to know or learn something that I haven't covered in the VB app series, do let me know in the comments. I'll try to definitely reach out and make videos on them. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video next time. Till then, stay tuned to my channel and share across your friends. Thank you so much. Till then, bye.